Okay, we are live. Hello, hello. Welcome to, I don't know. I never say like maybe another weekly. I don't even know. I need to find an introduction for my show. I guess it's the Kamsky TV show. I will think about it. And I'll come up with a better intro. But well, it's super cool to be here. We have Max in the chat, GM. And today I have Phil with us from Enclave. And we're going to talk about DeFi, on-chain trading, and, as a lot of people have been wondering, FEXs. So before, we dive into any conversation, I'm just going to give the mic over to Phil, who's here with us. And yeah, I'm like super excited about this conversation. Like we have so much to talk about today. So how's it going, Phil?
It's going well. First of all, thanks for having me on. I'm also working on my catchphrase. So when you get yours, let me know. I might have some ideas for my own at that point as well. But yeah, no, super jazzed to be here. Super interesting time right now to be talking about all things exchanges with the launch of Aster over the last couple of weeks and Hyperliquid's growth and sort of the SEX versus DEX, and then of course the key question of what WTF is FX. So happy to jump into some of that and how it applies to Enclave.
Right, for sure. And I mean, the Aster, just Aster pump, I don't know what you want to call it, just like took everybody. It's it's been red. It's been like the green beacon of light. Although I have to say, Avalanche has been
Yeah, I was
bouncing
going to
like,
say there's
yeah.
been one more.
It's been honestly this week. It's been all about like Aster and Avalanche. Like Avalanche
Yeah,
just bounced. Like there was nothing happened. Like no cares in the world. Just back up. So yeah, that's honestly like pretty cool to see, and I guess for you guys as well, since Enclave is on Avalanche. But yeah, crazy times. We're literally only a couple days away from like Q4, the mighty Q4 that everyone's like waiting for. So
yeah. Everyone's
yeah,
praying for October still.
yeah, exactly. Let's see. I mean, it's been an interesting summer. Like you never know. Usually summers are pretty chill, but I think it hasn't
Yeah,
been since like 2021 or 2 that we haven't had like a lot of like activity in the market. It's usually quite flat. So yeah, we've been locked in. No holidays, no holidays this
yeah.
year.
Now's the time. It's actually interesting. Before this, like last little sell off, there was probably 2 weeks of like up only for a little bit. Everything was pumping, and then had a little pause, some macro news as well, and all of it makes it like I said, a super interesting time to be in the exchange world and be in the markets in general.
How do you guys see other exchanges? Because obviously there is, now that like Aster is pretty much in the spotlight, a lot of the, I would say like hyper liquid folks are not complaining, but, just saying like that people don't really care about the tech and that Aster isn't that decentralized like they claim to be and so on. Is that really, does that really matter? And how does Enclave like position itself like compared to these both?
Yeah. Maybe I'll start with the second one. So, like, just by way of introduction, I probably should have started with this instead of talking about my catchprise and what that could
Oh,
be.
good,
But
all good. We can go back and forth anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
we have an hour, yeah, a bit over an hour to just catch. And by the way, we have Vicky in the chat. If you guys have any questions, feel free to like put them in. Anything, and we'll go to the main question later, obviously about the facts. But yeah, about Enclave, like run us through like what are you guys? What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the overall backdrop too is like, well, what's sort of like the exchange landscape look like? So Enclave is a trading platform, an exchange, like at its core. And I would sort of group the market into three categories. You have your like centralized exchanges, which most people are familiar with. They've been around forever. You have your decent, well, forever in crypto terms, but what, 10 years overall. Um, you have your decentralized exchanges, which sort of kicked off with like Uniswap and some of those sort of spot swap exchanges, but have recently come and people have been launching perps exchanges sort of in a decentralized manner. And Hyperliquid's really the one who like put decentralized perps on the map, and rightfully so. They've been an amazingly successful project, obviously. And then you sort of have this third category where Enclave lives, which is a little bit of hybrid of both. And even some of these like decentralized exchanges have some aspects of like on-chain infra versus off-chain infra. But Enclave is sort of squarely in that third category, and over the next 12 months, transitioning more into on-chain infra, and adding more and more on-chain capabilities. But that's sort of how we think about ourselves. The name Enclave comes from the concept of a secure enclave or a trusted execution environment. And basically what that means is there's this autonomous like environment where all of our code operates, and that code can't be unilaterally changed by a central operator, basically meaning like myself or a co-founder or any of our engineers. We rely on this like decentralized network who help secure the enclave. And we work with third parties like Republic Crypto's one, Ava Labs is one, Block Daemon's another. So these really like respected, established institutions to help provide that infra for us. And then the encrypted part, and this is maybe a segue into like what even is a FEX, but it stands for a
The
fully
question.
encrypted. Yeah, exactly. It stands for a fully encrypted exchange. And because all of the code, the trades, the transactions, the order flow, account management, balance transfer engine, the matching engine, it all sits in this autonomous environment. It means that basically nobody can influence your trades or see your balances, before your trade executes. And what that does is prevent users from suffering from things like front running, sandwich attacks that generally can happen on chain as transactions are reordered in a block, and you have snipers and you have MEV and this whole business out of essentially like reordering transactions. We basically say like, take that out of trading. Let's just make the order flow. And then it also provides an extra layer of privacy, in the sense of like, if you're a whale and you want to get into your position, and you actually saw some of this with like James Wynn and Hyperliquid, where like
Right.
huge positions are posted, but then they're public and people go hunt those positions. And like in many ways, that's just the market doing the markets thing. But if you're James Wynn and you have a massive position, you probably want to hide that and actually have some privacy around it, so people can't just go hunt your liquidation points and aggregate capital around those areas. And so that's what execution within the enclave allows for. And it's
That's
really those
quite
two
similar
things.
to like traditional like finance in some kind of way. Like you guys are providing the same kind of level of privacy in that sense, right?
Yeah, I think the way that we've thought about it is it's not a dark pool per se, but it has dark pool aspects, and I think that's a narrative that's going to be really interesting over the next 2 to 3 years. And we have had this tech up and running now for 3 years. We've sort of had to pivot a few times, and I'm sure we'll talk about that of how our market focus has changed. But the core tech has been there since day one. I think that's a really cool area of exchanges in general, and sort of a really cool area for where crypto is going to go, let's call it, over the next 3 to 5 years.
Right. And Max is asking, so would Enclave be the ideal product for a whale actually?
Yeah, I mean, that we would say absolutely. And I can give um, a little quick overview of like different products that we've built. So we built something called Enclave Cross, which is still up and running, but less of a focus now. And that's actually a tool that's like perfectly built for a whale. It's funny you mentioned, sort of like that stuff that like TradFi has done. I do think we're seeing this convergence of like blockchain infrastructure and like concepts and TradFi come together, and really sort of be this nice blend of like, oh wait, there's a better way to execute these TradFi ideas. And so getting back to like, is it good for a whale? Like, absolutely. We built something called Enclave Cross, which basically was a mid-match crossing network that had this level of privacy. And if you're a whale, you basically come in and you say, hey, I have $5 million of XYZ that I want to spend to buy token 123. And you would have another like private participant say like, oh great, I'll sell you that at mid, and then I'll go work out of it by myself. And really what the overall concept was, and I think we were a bit earlier to the game and sort of need the market to mature a bit more, but was like, an automated encrypted OTC desk that was peer to peer, and basically like you gave some indication of interest if you wanted to get into or out of one specific position. And then you would make a block trade all at like one agreed to price. And if you're a whale, like that's probably the best execution you can get as long as you can get that price. And that's what we try to do at Cross.
Right. That's like really interesting that you guys really started off, you're kind of like imitating TradFi and finding ways to, you know, basically just converge in that. And I feel like that's kind of like the direction where crypto is going. And, we were talking about, dark pools earlier, and just to give you guys like a bit of a definition. So a private, it's a private exchange. It's like a private security exchange in which investors and, especially large investors, so investors with large positions, just such as crypto whales, are able to make transactions privately and anonymously. There's a lot of regulation that's actually going into dark pools, and this is something that is regulated by financial authorities, and it has been going for a long time. There's obviously these authorities are looking to bring transparency to these markets and kind of not eliminating dark pools, but they do want to regulate them in some kind of ways. Do you see dark pools moving on chain?
Well, I'm probably not the best person to ask. I see everything moving on chain. I think that it truly is like people talk about the future of finance. And shout out to Avalanche and Inversion, but that's a really cool project, and company that is sort of up and coming on Avalanche. And their whole idea is like use crypto rails and bring traditional businesses and make them more efficient with those crypto rails. And I think if you sort of like blow out that idea, blow out that concept, like I think that's what's happening to the financial industry overall. And certainly, yeah, like dark pools and concepts like dark pools, I think are more efficient using crypto rails. And I think that's where we're going as an industry.
Right. That's super interesting. It's funny because we started already. It's like when I got in crypto, it was all about, a new financial paradigm, getting rid of the institutions and the bank. Although meanwhile, JP Morgan was just accumulating. So, red flags there, but
Yeah.
they
Which
still
is
are.
still true today.
Yeah.
Still true today.
Yeah, yeah. But I think back then, this was like 2017, and this was like I was at Bloomberg, so I was working at Bloomberg. I had my crypto news feed on, so I was just like following all this stuff like back then, and these news now the news feed doesn't really it's all priced in. It doesn't necessarily affect the market so on, but like back then you had like one article, whatever, Jamie Dimon saying something about crypto, the price would move. Now it's not the case anymore. But it's really interesting to see like how it's converging with like traditional finance, and we're becoming like more and more institutionalized in some kind of way, which is it's neither good or bad. I think ultimately like we're definitely, if we want to see adoption, like there needs, I mean, this is still not crypto of saying we need regulation, but like it's the way it's going, and we're seeing it with stable coins, we're seeing with like, all these TradFi companies like coming in and so on. Avalanche is having insane partnerships.
Yeah.
They just like signed a deal with like Scaramucci, which I mean it's huge. So honestly, congrats to the team. Like
FIFA and Toyota.
yeah,
And
like it's just honestly, if you look at Avalanche, it's hard to keep up with the news. Like every day there's something coming out. By the way, happy birthday, AVAX. It's been 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, it's been 5 years. So crazy if you think about it. Were you guys always on AVAX? Like how's it been?
Yeah, so the idea for Enclave was incubated out of Ava Labs, and it was actually sort of this like idea that a number of more senior engineers now at Ava Labs and Goon himself had sort of like kicked around when they were all back at Cornell, even pre Avalanche and Ava Labs. And it was obviously just like sort of like the beginning structures of what Enclave is today, but this concept of execution within a secure enclave, actually made its way into what was the primary architecture for the Avalanche Ethereum bridge. And then we sort of thought, hey, well, at this point, Ava Labs sort of thought like, hey, we could make this into more of a business, and particularly an exchange business. And so they incubated this concept of Enclave, And sort of I was employee number one to come try to find a team and build a team and like take this concept of encrypted order flow and make something out of it, which was super cool. And honestly, at the time was like an idea that sort of blew my mind. It was really interesting. And so that's sort of how it took off. It actually has its like roots way back in Cornell with sort of the thought team and thought leadership from Ava Labs.
Okay, wow, that's crazy. So, but you told me that Enclave started as well, more of a, you guys were catering to institutions, and then you pivoted to more like consumers, being a consumer platform.
Yeah,
How does that move, like, how did that move happen, right?
with a lot of stress and anxiety over the course of years. No, while that is true, I think that's normal for like any company. I think especially like these early stage companies, this is a bit of a sidetrack, and I can parking lot it, but like one thing, you know, and we fell victim to this a little bit too, is like we were in love with our vision, and rightfully so. I think it's cool. I think it's an area that's going to continue to grow. But you have to be right both on like concept, but then also on timing to actually like grow a business out of it. And oftentimes like one of those two things is either wrong or needs to be tweaked. And so we did start out focused on institutions. We started out with this product that I mentioned a little bit earlier called Enclave Cross, which was designed for whales. And whales in this case was just a euphemism for institutions who are crypto curious and looking to get in at the best price and get the best execution that they possibly could. Um, and I still think that technology and the concept is really cool, but the pivot and sort of the transition into a more retail focused, or at least being more accessible to retail, just happened because the market was telling us that. I think we were still early. Like it was hard to get the number of institutions into this type of product executing in this way.
When was this? Just like to have a timeline.
This is probably mid 2023 and which it probably should have been late 22, but you
Oh yeah, I
to my
mean,
early
that was a
you go keep with it,
crazy,
and you're like, no, it
crazy
just
time.
yeah, and not to mention FTX sort of crashed around that time too. Not sort of crashed, it definitely crashed.
Yeah. Nobody
Uh,
wanted to touch crypto back then, not even with a stick, honestly. It
e-
was
exactly,
honestly like
exactly.
so
And so you're
bad.
sort of like, well, is it just the market dynamics? Is it the idea itself? Is it like our strategy, our go to market push? Like what is it? Um, but ultimately, I think, again, sort of going back to the theme of like convergence, you need something that works for both, and a tool designed for whales to execute like that's not super retail friendly. And so that's sort of like when we started our journey of building more of a retail friendly platform to support institutions and retail, which is obviously manifested in what we are today, which is our Enclave X permissionless perp stacks. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, sort of thinking like institutions first. The institutions are coming. The institutions are coming to like, well, the institutions are coming, but we need to make sure that we have a business in the meantime.
Are you thinking of like pivoting, not pivoting again, but like expanding back on, the service offering that you were very much like focused on in the beginning, given the current, you know, situation right now in landscape within, especially in the States?
Yeah, I mean, so the situation in landscape, just to be clear, is like the regulatory world is opening up in a really great way for innovation and expansion. And I think even yesterday I saw something about a safe harbor from the SEC for people who are really focused on innovation and doing it the right way. Um, and so yeah, it's I think that the focus is less about like, hey, is it institution forward or is it retail forward? Because ultimately, I think you need a product that works for both. Hyperliquid's a great example. Like plenty of institutions have no problem using Hyperliquid, but obviously plenty of retail does as well. Um, but I think the expansion comes from like, well, what geographies can you operate in, according to a set of rules? And obviously the US is opening up where is a lot of institutional capital. And so how do you like structure now your go-to-market strategy, and sort of like your boots on the ground and relationships and network to like capitalize on that regulatory, let's call it just opening up. But I think from a product perspective, we've always tried to build with like, something that an institution can use, but retail can also access. So we certainly have some products like that. I would say our alpha strategies product is sort of like the right blend of those two things where, um, we partner with institutions who run trading strategies on Enclave, but then retail can invest in those strategies. So it's essentially like, investing in a hedge fund, without some of like the same long lockup times and minimum ticket sizes and access to capital limitations. But then, you, the individual, don't have to be prey to your own emotions while trading perps. You can let the professionals sort of trade this concept, this strategy on your behalf, which is a little bit of a product built for myself, who's like a super emotional perps trader, has no idea like when to exit or even enter. And then I see it like go up and I'm like, oh, I got to buy more. And it goes down. I'm like, I got to sell, which is like the absolute opposite of what you want to do. So
Yeah, that's
the whole idea
like
there is like,
real
take your
bad.
emotions.
That's gambling.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And um, again, it's this is maybe too much of like a self therapy session now, but like I don't go into it wanting to gamble, and I don't think a lot of perps traders go into it wanting to gamble. Um, but handling volatility is a skill set in and of itself, and risk management. And it's something over the years that I found I'm maybe not the best equipped to handle. So the Alpha Strats product is a really cool product because it lets people who do that on a day in and day out basis, who have conviction and alpha and a strategy that they stick to, sort of trade on my behalf, and I can just feel a lot better and sleep at night, without worrying about like what my open positions are doing. So
Right. It's always tough, right? Like what's the fine line between and this is a conversation like I've been having with multiple of my guests because a lot of us are traders and obviously we're active participants in the market. And there's always a fine line between gambling and trading, right? I think there's only a few people that can 100%, confidently say that they are very hyper rational traders, completely detached from their emotions. Like you need to be a certain kind of person to be able to do that. And you know, most of the people are not. We're definitely emotional. We're more emotional than we want to admit we are. And I think this is something that, is true for not just trading, but business as well. Like whatever you're doing, and this is something I think a lesson that came to me also just being a founder and dealing with people, whether it's like partners, employees, like, freelancer, whatever it is, like I think the biggest mistake people do is really assuming people are more rational than they are. Everyone's like emotional. So unless you have those so people that can manage their emotions and are quite detached and without getting too much into details, but it takes a certain type of person, right? So like when is it gambling and when is it trading? Like what's your
yeah,
it's tough to say, right?
it's a really, really great question and a really fine line. One I'm sure the philosophers will debate for years beyond this stream. But my own little thought and sort of contribution to that is like risk doesn't mean gambling, right? Like risk reward is a ratio that you should take into account. Just because there's risk and you're willing to take that risk doesn't mean you're gambling. I think for me, it's sort of like when I do something without real conviction, for example, and I do this all the time, so I'm 100% guilty. But like, I'll read something on Twitter and be like, "That's a really good idea. I haven't looked into it, but I should just follow this person on Twitter." Like, okay, that's gambling because I don't have my own conviction. I haven't done my own research. I haven't built a strategy with certain risk management principles of like, if it's this, I'm going to get out. That's invalidation, and traders talk about that all the time. Is like, when is the idea invalidated? Um, so that's trading. And I think when you do what I do, that could probably be considered more of gambling, which is just like, yeah, I should ape into that. That sounds great. And
Just
then
to
I'll
feel
like go.
something.
Yeah, yeah, just to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
No, so it's sort of a matter of conviction in my eyes, not necessarily like what risk you're taking on.
Right. Yeah, it's tough, right? Like a lot of the time it's trading when you're winning, but then when you're losing it's just
Yeah,
gambling. That's how it feels, It's like even if you're just YOLO trading or whatever you want to call it, just degenning and you hit, then it's, you're the best trader in the world.
yeah.
So, but when you lose.
I love
It's
that meme where the guy's like staring into the mirror and it's like, it's not the bull market. You're a great trader.
yeah.
You know, and it's like, yeah, I felt that every morning. It's great.
Oh, everyone's a genius in the bull market. I do have to
Yeah.
say, I mean, it's tough to trade in a bull market, to be honest. Like, when it hits, it hits, but those wicks are really nasty. And like, if you don't put like a large stop, at least for me, when I trade, like right now, like I'm not putting tight stops. Like the whole scalping thing, and it's just not really
Yeah.
working. You have to
Yeah.
manage your risk in a way that is gonna take into account for all these wicks, and because they're gonna kick you out, they're gonna try to kick you out no matter what. So, but yeah,
I think I think this bull market in particular, just to spend two seconds on that point, is like particularly difficult. While the market is like directionally up, and I would say it's been a bullish market now for a number of months, and some folks are saying like, hey, it might actually be topped out, at least locally, for a while. There's been sort of this like PVE approach to previous bull markets where like it doesn't matter what you buy, like everything's going up, and that's not so much the case now. Like you have these singular bets and singular projects that seem to win, and then everything else is kind of like you'll have periods of bumps, but for the most part is sort of just like drifting sideways, or you have to really have conviction in your idea. So uh, again, I'm not a professional trader, so I'm sure there's plenty of those who are cringing at my description of that. But like, it is a very difficult bull market this year, or this cycle, if you will, to trade and to capitalize on.
no, 100%. I mean, they're not all ecos are, let's say, profitable. Like
Yeah.
we've been, with Mood Labs, we've been working a lot with BTC
Mhm.
projects. So, since the launch of the Ordinals protocol, there's been a whole ecosystem developing on top of Bitcoin, because suddenly you could build, applications. There's new L2s, there's meta protocols, like fungible tokens and whatnot. But yeah, like the problem is that ecosystem, a lot of people were profitable, but ultimately, if you held Bitcoin and you hodled your Bitcoin, you would have been up. If you don't count any of the airdrops and stuff, which obviously then required people to like sell like, at the right time. If you hodled
Exactly.
everything, like you would be like down, down bad. And we're seeing a lot of people like really struggling from these ecos and not rotating. But then you see other ecosystems like Avalanche just, just exploding, right? Like there's so much happening. And not just the price. Like the price is it's a healthy indicator that, there's strength. And definitely like you want to look at the strong assets like in the market and try to like catch, the strength. And Avalanche is just been going, right? And we're seeing a lot of these announcements coming. The team is like being they're everywhere. So it's something really interesting to see like how some ecos is just like completely dead, and then AVAX just going. We've got Max saying name cycle in the beginning was easy, but now it's super hard. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
like now
Well,
it's
it's like the
pain.
proliferation of tokens. I mean, Pump.fun, awesome, like wildly successful project. But just look at like how many tokens are launched on that. Like it used to be like, you know, not a handful, but not a whole ton of memes were up there to invest in and sort of like hitch your wagon to. And now, there's that amount every single day plus more. So like, how do you sift through all the noise? And of course, it's going to make it a harder environment to try to trench in and win in. But one quick point too, I think your point about ecosystems is a really good one. And I think price is, and it's my opinion, but I think price is more of a lagging indicator, because it follows sort of like the growth activity and the BD activity that a lot of these ecosystems put in. And so Avalanche, I think, is a good example, but is not alone in terms of ecosystems that are like really churning out good quality BD work. And then, of course, price is going to follow that as those partnerships reach maturity. Like these things don't necessarily happen overnight, but they do drive and sort of lead price action by 3, 6, even more than 6 months at points. And so if I was trying to like bet on an ecosystem, I would try to get as good of a read as I could on like how strong is their BD team? What sort of like growth initiatives are they pushing? Like, what are the true nature of these partnerships? Is it, truly like a business, a creative partnership, or is it sort of like a marketing partnership? And all that matters as, price sort of follows where the value creation of these deals happens. Saying that out loud, it's like, duh, but I think it's a hard thing to focus on and try to get a read on.
I mean, it's hard to sometimes, like, I mean, and we say this a lot, right? Like the bar in, although, yeah, the bar in crypto can be quite low at times. And so
Yeah.
when you see, I mean, it's true. It's true. But it's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Like it's, it is how it is. It is what it is. Um, the thing is, like, there's a lot of opportunities, but the thing is, when you see teams, outperform every other, like, I wouldn't call them competitor, but just like other ecosystems,
Hmm.
then, it's a clear indicator that that team is competent, that team has network just outside of crypto. You have to conquer your niche and then expand, right? Like right now we're in a place where, where the retail, or like when we say like normies are coming, whatever, it's not going to be the same way that, we've experienced in the previous cycle, like with NFTs or before with the ICO boom and all this stuff. But like, it's going to be in a different way, and you want to make sure your team has connects like outside. And I mean, I'm just taking the AVAX example. Like they're hiring, people that have expertise outside of this ecosystem. So definitely interesting to follow up. And if you want to learn about these ecos, just follow their main page or their LinkedIn. Yeah, and there's a lot of there's a lot of information there and stuff that's going to be just available for everybody. You mentioned
The
hyper.
other, just real quick too, and maybe this is like changing the subject a bit, but I think it also matters like where that team is like focused on their growth, and not to like, you know, toot our own horn, but I think perps and trading in general is an area that is like poised for massive growth in crypto. Again, going back to that concept of convergence that we sort of started the conversation with, like more and more TradFi liquidity, I think is going to come on chain. And so it's certainly an area that's like hyper competitive right now, especially like perps dexes. But I think it's also an area where like multiple winners can occur. So like, what is the BD team of these ecosystems doing to like help find differentiated products? So for example, like Enclave, we're actually like a cross-chain exchange, which I think is really interesting, even though it's built on Avalanche. We accept USDC from Solana, Avalanche, Ethereum as well. Lighter is another good example. They build on Ethereum, but they accept all sorts of USDC as well. And so you're starting to see like this almost like multi-chain world built, coming from one ecosystem. And I think that's a differentiator that is going to help for the next 6 months, let's say. And then it's sort of like, what else are you doing to like get better execution and help your traders make money? Because in the perps dex world in general, it's like, I want my trades to be as successful as possible. And then if that project has launched a token, like I want that token to be as successful as possible. So what's the tokenomics flywheel? And Hyperliquid has kind of nailed that, in many ways. So anyway, it's also part of like, how do we sort of build and invest our BD resources where the puck is going from an industry perspective? And again, I think sort of perps and perps trading is one of those areas.
What do you think of Aster?
Uh, I have a lot of thoughts. I almost think it's like too early to really form awesome, well-founded opinions in Aster. I think, first of all, like it's obviously been successful so far. And so I'm keen to see what happens next in terms of like growth of the platform. I think, having somebody like CZ focused on it obviously helps, especially like with, liquidity that CZ and or Binance can sort of put towards a project like that. That helps with execution. And so the fact that, we're even talking about it on a stream like this indicates to me that like, yeah, it's a success so far, right? Like just getting mind share is a really hard thing in crypto, and it's obviously done a good job of that. Is it a better project than Hyperliquid or some of these other exchanges? I don't know. Time will tell, and that's sort of like what will happen on the merits. I know there's a lot of like Well, it's the volume is sort of inorganic, and to some degree that happens on all exchanges.
Right. What does that, but like when people say that inorganic, what do they mean? Because like, have you ever, I mean, to people that say like, have you ever seen a token with no, no market making? Like it's a flat line. It looks terrible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So how does that work? How would an exchange work without inorganic, without a market? Like it's, no?
Yeah, no, it's a very fair
I
point,
know we can't
and
really talk about these things because people like start saying it's manipulated, but like,
I
like the
think it's less of
reality,
like
like,
manipulation. Yeah, I think it's less of like manipulation. Like market makers exist on every exchange like that. That's a large part of what
and on
firms
chain
do.
as well.
Yeah,
On
yeah,
chain as well.
it's super
It's
legitimate business. I think when folks talk about like inorganic trades, generally what you have is like somebody like me or you matching off against a market maker in a trade, and like we're like, oh, we like this token or we like this thing, and we're going to go take this position because I think it has a future. The market maker takes the other side of that trade. But like inorganic volumes where like if I open up 10 wallets, let's say, and I fund them all, and then I just trade against like myself, so like I'll put the order out there and then I'll take it. So it's like fill one versus fill two. That all counts as volume for the exchange, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have real trading customers.
yeah,
um, and again, some of that too is just by nature of existing in a trading platform. Like it's
just
not necessarily
app,
a bad
because
thing by itself,
apps,
but
like every app does this. And
yeah,
I mean, it's like you don't have to be an exchange to, like, this is just, I would say it's controversial just because obviously people don't want to hear about it, but like this happens a lot on also non-crypto products. Your favorite products have bots. Sorry, your favorite apps, like they have
totally.
inorganic. So, you know, I know in a perfect world, people would say like, yeah, everything needs to be centralized, have to be fair and transparent. But truth is, the world we live in, it's not like this. And it's always that chicken and the egg, right? Like I'm a marketeer, right? So it's a chicken and the egg problem. If there's nobody in your new restaurant, like you're walking in a street and there's a new restaurant that open, imagine there's no people and it's empty. There's no way I'm gonna go and sit there. I'm gonna be like, what's wrong? Like I'm gonna go to the guy that's like packed where there's a queue outside. And
Yeah,
restaurants do it. They literally sometimes pay people to just stand in a queue. Clubs do it. And it works because people see comfort, and having people use it is comforting. And so they want this comfort and they're happy to have it. They just don't want to hear that they've been fooled, but they still want it, right? So we can't really talk about it, but like to anyone that's like just making, these remarks, like this happens everywhere. Probably your favorite restaurant just pays people to go. Like I live in Dubai, so like this stuff is normal, like, these
yeah.
promo. So yeah, I'm not saying, I mean, there's always a fine line, right? Like if everything's fake, you still need to perform and deliver value. But there's different times and so on. So yeah.
I think it's a great point. And look, I can tell you, like, Enclave is an example. Most of these exchanges are, and most of them aren't like trying to like manipulate or game the market. Sure, you have like the bad case every now and again that sort of like sets the narrative for other people's, but like we invest pretty heavily in compliance and sort of legal teams. Most exchanges do, and most exchanges are able to say like, hey, that's quite clearly wash trading. So for whatever incentive program we're going to run, like, we're going to carve out those accounts that have clearly been wash trading. Like there's protections against it as well. I think the value that, quote unquote value that comes from it is like, it does show up as volume. So you can put big numbers on your website. And I think that that's more of the point that I was trying to say is like, is it true organic, like sustainable volume when it comes to Astro versus Hyperliquid? Like, yeah, maybe. I'm certainly don't have the information to make a call on it. But I would just say like Hyperliquid's really shown a great growth story, as have a bunch of other exchanges, and it's probably just too early to tell like what Astra's true story is. But yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, like I would just say like a lot of exchanges invest in compliance teams, just like Enclave does, and some of that gets sorted out pretty quick.
Yeah, that's I mean, you guys definitely have security at the top of your priority, especially in the way you're doing it. A lot of times the big hacks, or I'd say like, platforms being compromised just come from human error, just one person having access being compromised and then it's just affecting everything else. So it's it's very interesting that you're doing it in the same way and just decentralizing security in that sense. How, obviously like you guys have like, pivoted and you've been around for a couple of years now, which is really impressive in crypto. Like most projects that are early stage, pre MVP, most people are first time founders as well. Like what's a piece of advice that you would give to, a first time founder or just a founder in crypto that's building a product, a tech or DeFi product that's building something in crypto? Like what's your number one sort of piece of advice that you would give, or top three, up to you. I know
Yeah,
there's so many like.
I know it's only 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. where I am, but I feel like I need to like pour a drink to have this conversation. But it's like I
No,
think
no
maybe
judgment.
yeah, exactly, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
I think maybe number one is just sort of like what we talked earlier about, is sort of like vision versus like what the market is telling. I think one thing we did at Enclave is like we fell in love with our vision, and I think it's a really beautiful thing as a founder. And you hear the stories of like certain founders who like stuck with it and had conviction, and ultimately like they were proven right. And then what you don't hear about is like the other 99 founders who like stuck with it and had conviction and didn't move off their idea, and the market was like, yeah, no, we don't like that idea, and then their company folded and like they moved on to whatever they did next. So I think they're sort of finding that balance of like belief in what you're building and what the vision is and like where you believe the future is going, and then making like thoughtful, open-minded changes to what the market is telling you, and sort of blending those two things together. I think it probably took us like 6, 9, maybe even like 12 months too long, before we started like listening to some of those things. And we never abandoned what the technology is and what FEX is, but tweaking the applications of it is something that I wish we would have done earlier. And if I could go back, I would tell myself to be more open-minded to that sort of like feedback from the market. So that's probably number one. And then I think number two is, depending on the size of your team, as you build a team, making sure that, everybody that you hire is a culture fit and like buys the vision. Um, Sometimes, you can hire people who are absolutely great people, and incredible skill sets, but have a different vision for like where the market is going. And you sort of need everybody on, not that like you can't have good conversation and debate, within your team, but at the end of the day, like everybody needs to believe in the vision and sort of like what's going to this company is going to look like in a year or two, and sort of buy into that. And so one thing that I think, especially as a first time founder like myself, it's a little bit easy to just like hire and be like, yeah, but like that's okay, we'll work through that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but like I would say hire intentionally for that, and also don't be afraid to move on from employees who are great people, great workers, but maybe not a fit for what the culture of your company is and what the vision is. And then go help them find a job, where they do believe in the vision, and sort of go about it that way. I think it's a hard thing to do, change management and people management, but like ultimately a very, very healthy thing for the long-term success of your company. So I think
100%.
that was two. I'll try to think of a third as we go through this, but those are the two that I spend nights wondering about and sort of kicking myself for as I think about like what I would have done differently.
I 100% agree with that. And especially for the people one. Also, we live in the age of AI. So a lot of the tasks, can be automated and replaced. So at the end of the day, I feel like, and this is something that I ask myself a lot. It's like, why do we need people if we have a lot of tasks that can be automated? Or why do we need to hire someone as opposed to having a freelancer, right? And I think
Mhm.
a lot of it, and what I found out is that at the end of the day, like it's all about energy, and companies are energy, and there's only so much you can do with. I mean, Mood Labs has two co-founders, right? There's only
Mhm.
so much that we can do as two people, and having AI, which is great, but the input and the effect of having someone that, like you said, is like, it's a culture fit, they're aligned, they're motivated, they're adding their intention, and they want to intentionally grow your company and grow with you and grow themselves, is something that, creates magic. And all of the successful companies have had that, ingredient, and it's people. And like you said, it's okay to rotate, and maybe, people are good for a certain period of time, but at the end of the day, like, companies are energy, and you need to match with the people that you hire. And it is so difficult. And also, not having someone that's aligned, especially when you're an early stage startup, you're literally, you cannot, afford having someone not being, because they're literally going to sabotage your work. Having an employee that is not aligned, it's basically having someone sabotaging your company. Besides monetarily, financially, and so on, like, you know, you're gonna waste so much more, and it's gonna cost you so much, and you're literally having someone that's, putting sticks in your wheels. So it's like super important, and it's tough, right? Because you may like the person, but like you said, sometimes it's business at the end of the day, But you still have to work with very emotional people, and everyone's emotional. It's not rational. So yeah, like the hiring, yeah. I mean, it's so different if you're working for, company with like hundreds of employees. When you're a startup, like,
Well,
yeah,
that's the other thing too, is like it doesn't take that people to start to grow and build a business. Like Hyperliquid's team is ultra lean. I think a lot of these teams are running fairly low. It's a little bit of a paradigm shift when, like, hey, you raised a big round, like go hire as many people as you can and sort of like grow into the valuation. Um, Now you're seeing a lot more of like grassroots growth, lean teams who are outperforming, and it's really trying to find like that outperformance. Somebody could be like so skilled that, like, hey, you put up with a little bit more of this, that, and the other thing because their like production is so great. But most aren't like 10x rock star employees. We've been, I think, lucky at Enclave to have found a good number of those. But I will say, like, for people management in general, like, you don't have to be a 10x rock star if you believe in the vision and like you're willing to roll up your sleeves and be gritty. Like that stuff matters around the edges too, and like really adds to your own like personal multiplier, if you will. And so it's sort of a balance of like skills and belief and conviction. And I think figuring out what the right line is for your company is something that takes some time, and is, as I reflect, probably something that like we should have spent more time in our early days figuring out. But I think, thankfully we're sort of locked in now and feel good about that. But that would definitely be a piece of advice for founders. It's, as you know as well.
how big is your team?
We're about 15 right now, and it's mostly engineers. We have a couple people in the markets, and then myself and my co-founder Dave, who runs our U.S. entity, and I sort of run our global entity underneath that. And then a few, folks on the legal and compliance side as well, to our earlier conversation, and then that's it. So we're always looking to make skillful hires. So people who want to get into sort of the perp stacks world, and particularly have a view on go to market and some of the BD and growth stuff. Like we're definitely super interested in that.
Oh, so your
Um,
Enclave is hiring.
yeah, we're always on the lookout for good talent, as are most projects too. So I would say go give Enclave a look first, for anyone listening here. But yeah, I think it's a relatively small team, all things considered. And I think that's certainly the way that I would rather work. And I think you're seeing a number of different projects like be super successful with that too.
Right? And we have G saying, "Let us go." Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? This shift. It used to be, I think, like back, even before, like AI just came in and just made our life like so much easier. I think, like, the, let's say, the importance of a business was also seen as, like how many employees you are, how big is your company. And so that was like a clear indicator of value. We don't need that many people anymore. There's so many jobs that, that can be automated, and which means that you can become, you can do so much more just because you have AI, right? Like you can maximize your output. And, we're a boutique. we're a boutique agency. We obviously we overwork. We're workaholics. So that's also something to put in.
Yeah.
But the output and the amount of work that we can do with just a couple of people is, we can run as like just a full stack agency just because we are leveraging AI in a way that like is making our life so much easier. And I still see it as, when we meet people, the first thing they ask, like, how big is your team? And, we don't have hundreds of people, but we still we work so well. And I feel like we're at the cusp of this shift where people are going to start realizing that there is very small team. And I think Hyperliquid and you guys, for example, like are a great example of, what can be achieved, right? And it's time to start seeing startups in a different way just because, the way we work is evolving. I'm not of the opinion that, AI is going to take jobs and so on. It's actually going to just make people that aren't lazy work better, because at the end of the day, the lazy ones, like, they're just going to use slop, and that's going to, anyone can learn how to prompt, but if you're
Yeah.
lazy by nature, you're not going to survive. And so there's really going to be a clear cut in performance, and the people that are going to be, just putting in more effort and going the extra mile are going to be rewarded, because on top of that, they'll have an assistant and everything that will help them work, whether it's vibe coding some agents or whatever that is. The ones that are lazy are going to suffer. And that's just my theory, my 2 cents on, like the the job market.
I generally agree with that. I probably lean more towards the like abundance viewpoint versus like AI is going to take all of our jobs.
Right.
I do think there's going to be sort of like a change in the composition of jobs that are done by AI versus people, but I do think it's a skill set that most, if not everybody, can develop and sort of leverage for themselves. So like net, I think there'll be more opportunity versus less, as let's say we
100%.
think about like the next decade or so, whatever you want the timeline to be.
I mean, look at like Cluely and all these new, let's say like Gen Z companies are just like popping off. Like,
Yeah.
these kids are like 18, and the whole university path that, I guess both of us went through back then. It was like you have to go to a good university to make it, and then it's like the masters, and then you get hired in like a big company and everything, and you make a name for yourself, and that's like I would say, I don't know, and then you go grind in the rat race or whatever you want to call it. I think like, especially with there's so much information, you don't necessarily need to go to university anymore. And also like the cost is ridiculous. Instead of like, is in the US as well, tuition. Insane. Like, you
Yeah. Yeah.
come out of university, you're like, in your 20s, and you're in debt, and it's such a heavy burden, and you're going to be working, and you're going to be basically enslaved to your job because you have to pay your debt, your student loan. Now you can just, vibe code a company. I'm not saying that all of them are going to working, but it's definitely, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of opportunities with the internet, with AI, with content creation. More and more people, are going to be watching and consuming content. There's a lot of things that kids, or even like any age, really can do and make a living just without necessarily going through the traditional avenues. So I think it's a very exciting time. Again, you need to be creative. You have to be open-minded. It's not for everybody, but if you have
No,
that,
get out and try it. Like go try some things, break some eggs. Like all you're doing is getting real world experience, which is essentially what you go to school for anyway. Like I still think there's value in education, obviously, but real world experience, trying to build a company is like education of its own type, and super duper valuable, and in many cases more valuable than whatever you get in a book. So yeah, I'd encourage everyone to like just go give it a shot.
yeah, oh, 100%. There's the thing is like, obviously there is value. Like if you're considering, if I don't know, if you're like 18 and watching this, like definitely consider going to uni if you have the means. Like you're gonna build a network, especially for the top unis. If you're going to an Ivy League in the US, like this is going to be, you're going to be part of a club for the rest of your life. And so is for private universities and universities that have a certain level. Like you will be part of a club and you'll have a network, which is invaluable for the rest of your days. You want to start a business, it's great. But for the people that don't have these opportunities, and maybe because they're living in a place where they don't have access to this and don't have resources, they're not stuck to their, socioeconomical, basically, just, situation. There's so many options if they're not lazy. So I just think I
Totally.
have like a pretty positive outlook on things, and we're going to see a lot of talent and interesting applications. I think like crypto and AI are the most wonderful, I guess, like revolutionary things that are happening in our lifetime. And thank God we're in crypto, at least.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like, what
Yeah,
a
I hear you.
blessing.
No, I totally agree, especially for like the young person's decision. Like, and at the end of the day, too, content is so accessible. Like, go watch a couple trading videos and figure out sort of like what technical analysis is and how to have good risk management and manage your ideas, and then pop over to Enclave.trade and give it a shot. Like, I think there really is sort of all these sorts of options for people to supplement a more formal education, and it's never been more accessible. So it's a very interesting time.
100%. Are you guys giving, do you have any like blogs or tutorials on, how to get started with TA or trading on Enclave? Where can somebody just find like educational content to start?
We have so first of all, if you just go to enclave.trade, that's where sort of like our main site, and we have links to different blogs and sort of our docs and certainly some educational materials. We also have some folks that we work with that are doing more like educational stuff. We try to stay away from a platform of saying like, hey, here's like good technical analysis. First of all, because like I don't necessarily know like what great technical analysis is. Nor do we want to be in the position as a platform of saying like, here's where you should buy and here's where you should exit certain positions. But that's an area that we are looking to grow, is just like partnering with some platforms who do that kind of thing, just so you have resources at your fingertips to make yourself a better trader. I've always thought that tools that are sort of like add-ons that you can plug right into your chart on your platform of choice are also super cool. So over the next 3 months or so, that's an area that we're looking to add a few, let's call them more like bells and whistles.
Oh, cool.
But we don't do like core trading education on our platform, just because we don't want to be in the position of saying like, here's where you buy and here's where you sell, as the
That
exchange.
would be crazy if you think about it. Say
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It opens up a whole can of worms that you really don't want to get into.
Right. And I know you guys have a also quite interesting, right? Like you guys have a Telegram app.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's at enclave_edgebot. And it's a way to basically trade perps on platform just via Telegram. Uh,
Do you want to
in
like
fact,
screen share?
yeah, if you have like 3 seconds for me, let me
Let me
see
know
if I
when
can.
you're ready, and I'll bring up the screen.
Yeah, see what
Yeah, well,
sort of.
I had a stream. Oh, sorry, my God, I'm like hitting the desk here. I had a stream with the head of community of Ton last week, and we looked into the whole, I mean, Ton Telegram ecosystem, and I mean, there's a lot happening
Yeah.
there, and the apps are incredible. Honestly, just so easy to use. I mean, I've been using like Telegram bots, especially for
Well,
trading. I think they're amazing.
it's super cool, and I think like perps trading via bots is sort of a new area. We're super early in our journey, so this is have been out for just a couple of weeks,
Oh
and a
wow,
ton
so that's
Yeah.
recent.
Yeah, it's new. It's new. And honestly, not to shill Enclave too much, but like we haven't launched a token yet. As we think about like what TGE is going to look like, I always encourage people to get out and try a bunch of different things for anything, not just Enclave. But if you haven't given EdgeBot a shot, that's something that we're certainly looking at pre TGE for our community. So would highly encourage it. Um,
AKA Go Farm Enclave. I'm gonna say I could say
I didn't say
it.
that.
Go.
I didn't say
I
that.
could say it. I'm allowed. Go
There you
Farm.
go.
Get that airdrop.
Exactly, exactly. But can you see this screen?
Let me bring it up. Yes, you need to align. You need to bring it to the right a little bit, just because
Like so.
to the right.
To the right, or this right?
Let me show you. It's just this is what it looks like. Let me send it in Telegram so you can
Oh, I
see.
see. Okay.
It's
Yeah,
like
everyone, bear with me here.
all
How about
good.
as we move it more over here?
Um, let's see. Maybe make it smaller and like bring it.
Let's see what we got here.
Okay, that's better. A little bit more. Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
I see what we got going here. It always
Perfect.
takes me a
Make
little
it a
bit
bit
more.
bigger. A little bit bigger.
How are we doing here?
Yeah, just enlarge it a bit. It's gonna be better. But we can see it. I mean, it's clear.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's good.
It takes me a bit longer than your average person that you have on to just figure out how to actually size my screen right. So
Oh,
don't really
good.
think that,
It's
but
no,
here we
I swear, like it's complicated.
are.
It's
Well,
tough.
I sort of put my account up here. It's obviously just put a little dust in to try to open a position. But basically, what you do is you can just open up a DM with at Enclave underscore edgebot. So super easy, and you'll be taken to this. Um, if you just hit basically backslash start. So this is your starting screen. Here's all your prompts. Um, you can trade spot through the EdgeBot, which basically routes to Black Hole Dex, Arena, and Trader Joe, some of the like the Avalanche ecosystem dexes. And you can buy any spot token as long as you put some AVAX into your EdgeBot wallet. And then separately, you have your perps wallets where you can deposit your USDC from Avalanche and Ethereum or Solana. And that USDC is used as collateral to trade perps on Enclave. So we actually route to DEXs for spot, and then we trade perps right on our own trading engine from EdgeBot. So if we do a perps trade, let's just go long AVAX because I think that's exactly what we want to do. And I will just put in 100%. So we'll max this up. And you basically just go through, execute the prompts. And so in the span of 4 clicks there, I've opened up a max long position on Enclave. So if you go and import your wallet from EdgeBot into Enclave, you'll see the position on the Enclave UI, or you can just manage it right here from the Enclave EdgeBot. And so I'm already into a long AVAX position. Let's see, my entry was 34.45. So let's all keep an eye on that and pray for Phil here. But
Yes.
yeah, it's really that easy to trade via Telegram apps and certainly the Enclave EdgeBot. And so it's an area that we're super excited about. Again, to the conversation, like more of a retail tool and more of a substitute as like a mobile app than actually building something in the app store. But I think you get all the value of trading, and it's pretty quick, pretty slick. And so again, something that we're super excited about. One thing that I will mention to everyone is we sort of have instituted the same referral system as Axiom. Super successful project, a ton of really great things on that project as well. But you basically get paid on your referrals that you refer directly, that they refer, and that second level refers. So those are your extended referrals. You make a percentage of all the fees generated from the volume at each of those 3 levels. So it's a really lucrative referral system. So as you're trying this out, I would highly encourage you to go create a referral code, get your friends signed up, and sort of all make a look as you trade here. So yeah, that's Enclave EdgeBot. Something we're super excited about as we move forward.
Very, very sick. And again, like we said, I think it's pretty cool that you can use USDC on various chains and not just Avalanche. Like you have various options in terms of what to deposit. So you don't really see this very often. So I think it's like really cool. And again, I'm gonna head over.
95 cents. So I might need to manage this a little bit better. That's massive
How's
L, right?
how's the chart doing? Let's see. Avalanche. My God. Well, let's see. You're on a. And how does it work? Can you put a stop? Like, do you have Are you guys gonna have a
No,
more
so
like advanced functionalities like limit
yeah,
orders
like
and all
in
that stuff coming?
this is V, I don't know, 0.5. Um, and so what we have right now is basically like you can just execute. But if you go to Enclave, it has all this normal stop loss, take profit
Yeah.
functionality. We're sort of in the motion of like moving that stuff in a nice, easy way to use in Telegram, as well as like charting that you can bring in directly into the Telegram app.
Oh, sick.
Telegram apps are fairly easy to sort of add functionality to. So, as we make our way to like version 1.0 and beyond, we'll be adding some of that functionality. So,
Okay,
right
sick.
now it's more of just a YOLO long or YOLO short if that's your flavor. Type of app right now. But yeah, we'll be building that in relatively soon.
Okay, nice. I see. Oh yeah, there we have funky beats in the chat. What is he saying? Oh, the purple light is alive again. Yeah, it is. So, okay, I had a stream. Yeah, like so this lamp, it takes forever to charge. It's amazing. I mean, I love the purple vibe, but it just died off the other day, and it's back. So we like the lamp. It's very
Yeah, it
cool.
sets the vibe. Sets the
Yes,
vibe.
definitely. So I know you need to hop off in a couple of minutes. Again, like I think honestly, it's really just recapping on how we started. I think it's very interesting on how our industry is going and it's growing. And again, like congrats for being still there for you guys have been around for quite a few years and you are building on a really strong ecosystem which is having tons of momentum. So you know it's not something a lot of companies can be proud of. Like we've seen so many projects come and go, and I think again, like as a founder and co-founder, it's a pretty huge achievement to survive the waves of the market, and it's definitely a testament to like the product that you guys are building. So again, for those that are just joining, there is going to be a token. I can say it. Go farm. Enclave. There's a bot. Yeah, I don't know when it's gonna come, but it's coming. If you're seeing, the hype around Dexes, well, you know what to do. So you've heard it here, and check out the
Heard it here.
Telegram. So yeah, well, I don't know if you have any last words, but it's been super fun to have you. I think like we've gone through like so many different segues into conversation, like what it's like to be a founder, just pivoting, riding the market, DeFi on in
Future of
crypto.
society with AI. Yeah, it's been,
Yes.
it's been a great conversation. So no, I just say thanks for having me on. I always love chances to do this. This has been, some of the most fun that I've had. Yeah, we're super jazzed about Enclave, cross chain, Perps Dex, Solana, Ethereum, Avalanche. It's built on Avalanche. Blends institutional capabilities for retail customers and has an element of privacy and security with the Enclave. Um, I would encourage everyone to check it out. I think perps dexes in general are going to be a massive growth area for crypto over the next 3 years. So there's no better time than now to get involved. And yeah, again, just really appreciate the time to come on here and chat about Enclave, but then everything that we covered. It's been super duper fun. So appreciate it.
We have a question from the chat, maybe to close off.
Yeah,
If the upcoming coin was like food, what would it be?
man, if the upcoming coin was like food, what would it be?
If the
I
Enclave
would
coin,
say Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say it's like pizza because you can eat pizza again and again and again. And the Enclave token is going to use some element of revenue from the platform, similar to Hyperliquid, to go out and buy the token again and again and again.
buybacks, we like.
Yeah, pick your favorite type of pizza and call it an Enclave token, and you're off to the races.
Pretty good. I love pizza. Great.
Yeah, there you go. And if you
Perfect.
don't like pizza, whatever food that you would eat again and again and again, that's what it's most like.
Who doesn't like pizza?
Again, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I agree.
But yeah, pretty good alpha. Well, funky beats. Hope you're happy with. I hope you like pizza. He's saying love the he's saying love that answer. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super fun. All right, guys. We're gonna start closing off. This has been like super fun, and thanks to everybody that showed up in the chat and is watching. Again, you can catch the recording on Twitter, on YouTube. We'll be uploading some clips as well, and yeah, this has been super fun. Thanks for joining, Phil.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been great.
All right, have a good start of the day. And yeah, fucking me say who doesn't like pizza? I don't know. This like it's like people that don't like chocolates can't be
Yeah,
friends with
instant
them.
block. Exactly.
Will's
Exactly.
oh yeah, well, Will's is saying pizza really described it better. Peter's saying thanks so much, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Lots of love. Bye. See you next time. Bye,
Cool. I'll see
guys.
you later.